Hi, I'm a programmer and you're watching Learn to Code. In this lecture, we are going to learn about how to terminate a thread. In Java, the most common practice to terminate a thread is by interrupting it. Now the question is, how can we safely interrupt a thread, right? So Java Thread API provides a method called interrupt. So when we call this interrupt method on any thread, then two things can happen. If the thread is in sleep or wait state, then it will throw interrupted exception. So based upon the exception, we can act upon it. And the second condition is, if the thread is running, then calling an interruption, it will make the interrupt flag to true and it will perform a normal execution. The thread will not be interrupted. But the Java programmer can use the interrupt flag and stop the thread. Regarding the interrupt, we have two more methods provided by Java Normal Thread API. First one is public static boolean interrupted method, which is a static method, and the another one is interrupted. It's a boolean method. The static interrupted method returns the interrupted flag. After that, it sets the flag to false if it is true. Whereas isInterrupted method returns the interrupted flag either true or false. Let's write some code to understand more about it. So please be sure you subscribe to my channel as I upload new tutorials every week. Let's create a new class called reading terminate task and implements runnable interface. I'm gonna override run method as well. So inside run method, we will write the code of reading a text file and printing onto the console, but little different from the previous examples. So let me mention the location of the file. So say it's string file path name equals, and let's go and copy paste the path. So this is the path I'm going to copy, and the file name is course_topic.txt. Okay, now I'm gonna create an instance of a file equals new file and pass the file path name, which is the location of the text file. In here, I'm going to create a new instance of a scanner class, scanner read equals null, and read equals new of scanner class, and let's pass the file instance. Here it is showing exception, so let's add a catch block. Okay, it was expecting a file not found exception. Alright, so here I'm gonna write a while loop, and inside while loop I'm going to check a condition reader dot has next line. If the scanner reader has a next line, then we are going to print that line. So let's write it is system.out.println, and here I'm gonna pass the thread name first. So thread.current thread.getName. Okay, let me copy this and put it outside the while loop. String current thread name equals pass this. Okay, now let's copy paste this current thread name and concatenate with the colon and then the reader dot next line, which will read the line. Okay, this is done. So let's go back to the main driver class and create the instance of reading terminate task. Task 1 equals new reading terminate task, and let's create a thread. Thread 1 equals new thread, and I'm gonna pass task 1 and set the name of a thread inside constructor itself, thread 1. Now thread 1 dot start will invoke this thread, and let's copy paste this and change the name of the task 1 reference and thread also. Okay, let's change this and also the thread name inside the constructor. Here I'm gonna print the thread name before terminating the thread. So let's say string current thread equals thread.currentThread.getName, and I'm gonna pass this into the system.println. So current thread interrupting the thread, and then the thread name thread1.getName. Let's call the interrupt method on thread1. Oh, oops, let's correct it. Thread1.interrupt, and let's copy paste these two lines and change the thread 1 to 2 and give some spaces here. Now I'm going to put some sleep time before calling interrupt methods on both the instances. So let's write the time unit.millisecond.sleep of 1000 milliseconds. It is expecting a interrupted exception as we call the sleep method. So let's throw exception on method signature. Alright. Now also let's put 2000 millisecond sleep time before thread 2, and we'll just change the 1000 to 2000 millisecond. Now let's go back to our task, reading terminate task. So inside the while loop, let's add a sleep after printing each line so that we can understand better the behavior of terminating a thread. So let's add a time unit dot millisecond dot sleep of let's say 300 milliseconds. Okay, now let's surround it with the try catch, and I'm gonna put one if condition. If thread 1 dot equals the current thread, then we are going to sleep for 300 milliseconds. Okay, and else condition, let's put it somewhat like time unit dot millisecond dot sleep, let's say 200 milliseconds. And also let's put an end line here when it exits the run method. So let me write system.out.println, then dash 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 and dash dash dash. So before exiting run method, we will check the status of interrupt flag by using the interrupted method thread.interrupted. Or let me put one more condition also. While catching the interrupted exception, I'm gonna set a new boolean volatile flag called interrupt, and let's make it true. We haven't defined this flag, let's do it. Private volatile boolean interrupt. Nice. Add the interrupt flag in the if condition. So if the thread is interrupted by any other thread, or the interrupt exception happens when it is in sleep or waiting state, then what we are gonna do, we will print the current thread is interrupted. And let's break the loop when it is interrupted. Oh, I wrote outside the while loop, so let's cut and paste it. Awesome, it looks perfect now. Okay, let me interchange the sleep time. Why did I change this? Because I want to stop the thread 2 later. That's it. Okay, let's run it and see ourselves what would be our output. Okay, nice. Now thread 1 and 2 has been started and ended through the interrupt. Okay, so thread 1 and 2 are running at the beginning. Now here the main thread has interrupted the thread 1. So thread 1 is interrupted and ended as it came out of the run method. We recognize by seeing this end line, and thread 2 is still running, and this is also being interrupted by the main thread. Thread 2 also ended here. So now we have learned how to terminate a thread in Java. In the next lecture, we will talk about how to handle uncaught exception in threads. So see you there.